Hello and welcome to the public meeting of the DC Lodge. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, let's start with the invocation. And I invite you to read it out loud together with me. Everybody's muted so there's no echo, because that way we do strengthen the vibration and send this message out around us. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. I'm so happy today to welcome Michele Sender. She has been a member of the Theosophical Society for almost 20 years. She lived and worked at the national headquarters of the TS in America and is currently part of the community at Crotona Institute of Theosophy. She has a degree in education and has given lectures, classes, and seminars on theosophy and its practical application in daily life, both in the US and abroad. She is the founder of Fohad Productions, a publishing company created to share the living power of theosophy. And if you have information that you would like to get, you can email her at michele@fohadproductions.com. And many of us know Fohad Production because many of us have the two books, several books that have been published to that. And with that, Michele, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm handing it over to you.
Thank you, Susanna. I'm always so happy to be here. I'm going to share my screen. Nope. Is that the wrong one? No.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, I'm always so glad to be here because I don't get a chance to see everybody as much as I would like. And then also in preparing for the talk, I feel like I gain an immense amount of knowledge and then can turn that knowledge into wisdom. So I thank you for your help along my path. And at the same time, I hope that I help yours. Okay, so the name of the talk is a Diagram of Meditation. I've always had an interest in not in meditation per se, but when I joined the Theosophical Society, I didn't have a meditation practice. And as I started studying more, I wanted to know what Theosophy says about meditation. And the diagram was the easiest one that I found. And so I've always been, I did a talk in our lodge. We did a set of 4 talks around meditation, and I did it on the diagram of meditation. And there isn't a whole lot of material out there on it specifically. And so the first talk that I did was just gathering what everybody else says and put it there. And then Pablo and I did a series of 4 talks on breaking up the diagram into 4 specific parts. All those videos can be found on YouTube, or if you go to the Theosophy Wiki and type in diagram of meditation, it's at the bottom with all the other resources that they list. So that will help. The focus of the talk today is on designing your own diagram, but I don't feel that we can just jump right into that without an introduction to the diagram. So I think I've pared things down enough that we should get through this in the allotted amount of time, and that then we'll have time for some questions or comments at the end. All right, so, oh, the other thing, let me make sure. sorry. All right. The other thing is at xiontheosophy.org, and I find you have to put the www in front of it, is a website that Pablo put together about the theosophical path of meditation. So I always recommend that because that list, what he did is he went through the readings or the literature and found all the places where theosophy or writers, authors have brought up the theosophical meditation. So you will unfortunately find some broken links there, but we're fixing that now. So, and then you can also, as Susanna said, you can get me at Michele at fohaproductions.com. I'm not going to give a lot of time to ask questions throughout the talk. So if one comes up and we don't have time to address it, or it's kind of on like a tangent topic, you can easily email me there. And I just want to stress that Michele is with one L. And two L's is an angel with two wings. So obvious, or I must seem to only have one wing, and that would make sense because I feel like I'm flying in circles every now and then. So, okay. So, this is not just a diagram of meditation. To me, it is more of a whole yoga practice, a spiritual path in itself. And if we look at the word yoga, its root is yug or yoke, which means to tie together. And I think the diagram does a great job of tying Blavatsky's main teachings into a practical method. So it involves not only sitting meditation, but also the development of a very specific attitude for our daily life. The sitting meditation is a small part. It is the beginning, of course, and the foundation for what is to come. But the body of the diagram or the idea of the diagram is focused on daily life, on how we should live our life so that we can see the truth of who we really are. So the whole purpose of the diagram is to shift our perception from the idea that we are this separate, limited entity to the idea we are the whole. We are the totality, experience life and the universe through different forms, through different vehicles. Each of us is the one self, experience the universe from different points of view. So that's the idea behind designing your own diagram. Okay. These first few slides are just history on it, and I'm going to go through it quickly. You can find, like I said, more information on E.T. Sturdy and the diagram of meditation and on the Theosophy Wiki. So E.T. Sturdy was a Sanskrit scholar, a student of Hinduism and Buddhism, and a member of the TS, part of the inner group formed by HPB and the one who recorded the diagram of meditation. And this happened sometime around 1889. So there was always a bit of speculation around the collaboration of the diagram coming from HPB and given to E.T. Sturdy. But Daniel Caldwell, who is a researcher and I call him a Blavatsky sleuth, found some evidence that authenticates its authorship. And you can find his website is a world of information on Blavatsky and her teachings, and you can find that at blavatskyarchives.com. All right, so Daniel found this letter from Sturdy to his friend Christmas Humphreys, and he writes, "Dear Mr. Christmas Humphreys, I am also sending herewith a copy of a diagram of meditation made under HPB's direction over 50 years ago, thinking it may be of use to some of your members. Yours sincerely, E.T. Sturdy." So E.T. Sturdy sent a bunch of his stuff, his papers and stuff, to Christmas Humphreys, and this letter came in 1942, in August of 1942, and then Christmas Humphreys, who started a Buddhist organization in England, published it for the first time at the end of 1942. So he published it in his journal, Buddhism in England, and it was later renamed, the publication was later renamed The Middle Way. All right. So this can be found on the BlavatskyArchives.com website and also on the Theosophy Wiki under the diagram of meditation. So this was the other kind of really important piece of information that Daniel found, and this is the diagram in E.T. Sturdy's handwriting. And so yeah, this was pretty important. At first, yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you can go to those two sites. I apologize. You can go to those two sites and take a look at it. One thing I didn't do, I'm going to show you this next diagram. This one was a form that first appeared in publication in 1942, and the copy you have from me is just a cleaned up version. So what I didn't do was compare the original or this diagram here with the original, the 1942 edition. And I know there's a mistake on my diagram that I sent you, but I can never find it when I'm looking for it. So that's the next step, is to go back and do some comparison, and you can do that on your own and find where the differences are. So I'm going to take a pause here. I see there's some comments. I just want to make sure none of them.
No, Alex just put all the links in there. Thank you,
Perfect.
Alex.
Yes,
But of
thank you.
all the yes.
Okay, okay. So I have a couple places where I'll stop like this, just because I broke the talk up into sections. Um, and then I guess I could ask at this point, I don't know if there would be any clarifying questions or short questions that specifically have to do with anything that I went over.
So if you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself or raise your hand. I have the participants list open, but I think everything is clear, Michelle. Nobody is unmuting themselves, so
Okay,
and
perfect.
good.
Then, all right, we will carry on. So this next part, what I did was I broke down the diagram into little chunks so that we could go over it. One of the first things that I find, or the way that I study, is to look up the definitions of the words that are used, because I feel like, or I know for sure, that words are used differently today than they were 150 years ago. And the best example I could give is I was reading something to my kids when they were in high school, and the word intercourse came up, and I lost them. So, when I had to look it up and explain to them that this is what the word means, and it doesn't mean what we use it for today. So that was kind of a nice insight that I gained on these words. So that's what I will do here. I will break this down kind of word by word in order for us to gain a foothold, to gain an understanding of what she's trying to say here. So, imagining, visualizing, and thinking about it. Oh, I'm sorry, let me read this first. First, conceive of unity by expansion in space and infinite in time, either with or without self-identification at first. So, imagining, visualizing, thinking about it, the idea is to become curious with the words. That is what eventually will lead you to breaking the boundaries of the thinking processes of the lower mind. And I feel like I have to understand first what is being said, like I said, by the definitions, and then I can work on in sitting meditation or in like a meditative inquiry what those words mean, and then try to drop the conceptual definition of them and try to reach the higher. So the idea, like I said, is to sense the eternal, boundless, and immutable essence of these things that we are studying. So the first word is conceive. So conceive means to become pregnant with, plant a seed, form an idea in the mind. And the new idea that we are trying to form is we are not this body, these emotions, or these thoughts. So that would be the negation of that. And then to bring in by expansion, okay, so breaking the boundaries and identification with our self-centered consciousness, the one that is right here. This practice helps to silence the mind and the body. And it is only in silence and stillness that we can gain glimpses of our true nature. And then that can be experienced. Krishnamurti, one of the practices, Krishnamurti repeatedly mentions the notion of time is based on thought. And what we're asked to do is expand beyond thought, beyond the feelings, beyond the sensations, or beyond our emotions, beyond our sensations, and into a place that is unknown. So if we imagine ourselves in all space and infinite in time, we cease to be in relation with anything we normally know or can conceive of or that we've experienced. And if we remember that the mind works basically on the past, on those memories, those conditioning, those judgments that we've had, and our perception is colored by that. So expanding in space and time kind of breaks that barrier so that we go beyond and we go to what is known, unknown, unknown, unknown. So space is the body gives us the sense that we are here and not there, that we are this body and nothing else. And time, the mind gives the illusion we exist now and not in the past or in the future. So in this case, that's what these words mean. So then the third line, with self-identification. So the idea here is if you have self-identification, with self-identification, you are identifying with the space expanding, kind of watching it from within. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of or I have some examples of meditations. So without self-identification is more like a bird's eye view, or you're watching it happen like on a movie in front of you. So the other example, I thought, I've heard the statement that we are a drop in the ocean. So if we imagine we are the drop in the ocean and kind of inquire on what that drop does, that would be self-identification. But if we imagine we are the drop, and as soon as we enter the ocean, we disappear and become the ocean, then that's without self-identification. So hopefully that helps in that sense. So without our personality, we are everywhere and at all times. So that's one thing that we can remember from this. That's kind of like the tagline. So if you have a protein, The Secret Doctrine, on page 220, there is some explanation of this. And then the meditations I'll list a little bit later. Okay, then we are asked to meditate logically and consistently on this in reference to the states of consciousness. So logically means in a way that shows clear, sound reasoning. and consistently means always, but in a fair and impartial way. So in this case, she's talking about unity. But this is where I had a change in the direction of the talk. Originally, I was so excited to offer this about any other subject or basically virtues and eternal truths, and not just on unity. But after working with the diagram and spending so much time with it, I saw one, the connection to the secret doctrine. And in the secret doctrine, we know that Blavatsky mentions unity throughout the book. It is in the first fundamental proposition, the omnipresent, eternal, boundless, and immutable principle. It's in the Bowen notes, where Blavatsky, he quotes Blavatsky as saying, "Let the mind hold fast to the fundamental unity of all things." It's in the first fundamental proposition. The unity is the fundamental existence of all things. So then I thought, if we access unity, then we kind of access everything else. So there's a couple different ways, and obviously this is for you to choose how to go about doing the diagram, either doing it, working with it as she mentions with unity, or working with it with other virtues and truths. And I'll list those towards the end of the talk. So Oh, yeah. And just as the reasoning behind this, I could see, just as there are different types of yoga we could practice, devotion yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, raja yoga, all those different practices to what flavor we like, we can do the same thing. That's my thing today, is to show you that we could do the same thing with the diagram of meditation. So if you go to Evolution of the Higher Consciousness, chapter 9, this whole chapter is on the states of consciousness, which we will go over rather quickly. I apologize now. So these are the states of consciousness described in Hinduism. Blavatsky uses these words, and then in light of theosophical principles or the theosophical ideas that I'm going to go over some of today. But then what I did is I took these states of consciousness and used it for the diagram. And I'll show you how that happens. So Jagrat is the normal waking state. It's an external awareness. Consciousness it's how consciousness expresses through the body. Svapna, the dream state, is internal awareness. So it's consciousness in expressing through the inner planes. Sushupti is known as the deep sleep state, and it's a spiritual awareness. Consciousness has retreated to the spiritual planes, or it's gone beyond the physical, the emotional, the mental, into the spiritual planes. So Turiya is the beyond state. It's universal awareness, almost a nirvanic state in samadhi, and it integrates and transcends the other three. So yeah, I don't have time to go into, but in the book, it's explained how these are states of consciousness, and like dreaming state. This isn't what I'm using it here. Svapna isn't while we're dreaming, and Sushupti isn't while we're in deep sleep. What we're trying to do is bring these states of consciousness into our daily life, so that we have access to Turiya, actually, is what our goal is. Okay. So then meditate logically and consistently on unity in reference to the states of consciousness. That is what we're talking about here. We can use these states of consciousness to describe the stages of sitting meditation. Let's see, there we go. So we're looking for in the Jagrat state, or this first state, we're looking for physical manifestations of unity, where consciousness focuses on external objects. The examples that I give are the first object of the Theosophical Society, working towards universal brotherhood. Our service, our to become co-workers in nature and in service of humanity. Then altruism. Altruism are acts that we do not benefit ourselves, and actually it can kind of be non-beneficial to us. So there's a quote that Blavatsky uses in the letters to the American Convention, where she talks about altruism leads to brotherhood, universal brotherhood, which leads to unity. So universal brotherhood for me, and this is where I read that. I got this idea that universal brotherhood is on the inner planes because of this, our physical nature. We don't necessarily see this on the physical plane, but we can do acts of altruism. We can do acts that benefit others. And by doing that, we're building universal brotherhood, and universal brotherhood is unity. So that was kind of a nice light bulb moment for me at the time. So then we go to the second stage and we become aware of the emotional and mental manifestations of unity. We turn inward to internal objects. So self-observation is the key to working on the psyche. What is the psyche doing? And these are our thoughts, our emotions, our desires, our memories. Where do these come from? Where are they acting in unity, and where are they not acting in unity? So I'm just going to continue to use unity in this case, and then later on we'll explain how you can do these with other virtues and eternal truths. So the third stage, we drop all thinking and experiencing and enter a personal silence where there are no objects that are separate from the observer. This is Krishnamurti, where the observer and the observed meld together, or melt together. Here, there are no objects. Again, it's a state of silent awareness, a personal unity, where there are no contents of consciousness. And then this is in relation to the fourth state, which is beyond. This is grace. When we find grace, this is a nice example of that. So it's the foundation and the source of the other three. This is universal unity, and it's neither conscious nor unconsciousness. And this includes both in our external worlds and our internal worlds. So this is the silent state of awareness where that the teachings talk about this dark state that we don't know. Okay. That I should say is unknown to our waking brain, okay, or our waking mind. Okay, so this is the first part that we already went over. And then the diagram goes into the second part. And I've added it here. You'll see the next 3 slides are the notes that Blavatsky uses on the diagram. And these are from the acquisitions and the deprivations. And I've added them here to the sitting meditation because I feel like a sitting meditation and a meditative inquiry is a good place to grasp these concepts that are new to our brain or new to our waking consciousness. So She says, then the normal state of our consciousness, this is Jagrat, our waking consciousness, must be molded by acquisitions. And the acquisitions are manifesting or emanating more spiritual attributes into our daily life. So these are the virtues and the eternal truths. And then the deprivations are allow us or give us the opportunity to acknowledge the passions and desires as a natural part of our personality, the opposite of virtues, basically. And once we acknowledge them, we follow them back to their source, then we can begin to purify our nature so that the higher can be reflected. Okay, so the first note states acquisition is complete with the conception, I am all space and time. So this is a repeat of the first part of the diagram, kind of put in more of an action item. So we've already conceived, she doesn't say conceive, but because we've already conceived or planted the seed that I am all space and time. And we've done this in our sitting meditation with a general notion of this abstract idea, with that understanding that we are now working on creating a plan or the intention to bring it into everyday life. And this is where I find a hard time. I say, I, Michele, am doing this. I, Michele, am doing that. And then she says here, I am all space and time. So my brain already has this groove that I is connected to Michele, the personality. So I haven't figured it out yet, but I would like to find a way that I, the higher self, or I, the eternal, I, the something, label it for now. So I call this a linguistic shift so that my brain can kind of change into something that I doesn't mean only the personality. So um, then the last part, beyond that, it cannot be said. So first, whenever we say or think something, we are in the realm of attributes, okay? We are in the realm of I, the personality. So this state that we're talking about can only be done in imagination because our concrete mind doesn't have any concept or any context of the unknown or what it can't see, what our mind cannot gather through our senses, it doesn't know. It's unknowing to that part of our personality. So we have to create a pathway to be able to gain access into the unknown. So and then again, Approaching the Secret Doctrine, chapter 26, has, I think I counted 8 meditations to help us with this and to help us gather the unknown, the I am all space, I am infinite in time, I am beyond attributes. Okay. All right, so the first note about the deprivations is the deprivation is complete by the meditation, I am without attributes. Let me check the time. Okay. This note is the deprivations are kind of completed with I am not this, I am not this, which is a neti meditation, which is one way to clear what we're not. Okay, clear that away so that we can have fertile ground to ultimately realize I am beyond all attributes, and this beyond is our atmic nature. So here I'm recommending or offering up Jeffrey Hotson's meditation, The Yoga of Light, and you can easily Google that and find it. But this, What he does here is he negates all personal attributes. Then he has you meditate on the attributes of the spiritual individuality, which is the middle ground, the bridge, so the higher ego. And what Blavatsky is telling us, though, is we can't stop there. We need to take it, go further, and continue on to negate all attributes, whether they are personal or they're individual, those spiritual individualities, to get to the universal. That's what our goal is. All right. So in daily life, one of the practices that we can do is by not naming everything our senses bring into our field of consciousness. And this includes, naming objects, which is that external part, but it also is naming every thought, every comment, every opinion we have, and then expressing it. So when we do this, what we do is we slow down the constant motion of the mind and the body. Because if we constantly have comments, if we constantly have opinions, if we're constantly expressing every thought, and I know I do this. The practice that I started was when I'm cold or I'm hot. That's the first thing that I don't care where I am in a conversation or where I'm at physically, it's, oh my gosh, am I hot? Or oh my gosh, am I cold? And so what I've started there, so what I try to do is let that thought come up and say, okay, and then just let it dissipate. So that's the little daily practice that I'm offering to you here. So then I believe this is the final note, is these deprivations are caused by the perpetual imagination without delusion of I am without blank, the recognition of there being the source of bondage, ignorance, and strife. And then she makes an emphasis here that there is no risk of self-delusion if the personality is deliberately forgotten. So I'm going to break this down. These deprivations are caused by, so this points to specific deprivations that we're discussing or that we're working on. So we will see a few of these in the next few slides. But here, for example, if fear, I want to work on fear, getting rid of fear is caused by the perpetual imagination, constantly thinking in imagination, I am without fear. Now, this, yeah, now you have to do this important addition, the without delusion, without deceiving myself. And this is crucial because the imagination described is not a false perception. It's not just repeating, I am not afraid, I am not afraid, I am not afraid, I am, I am strong, I am powerful. It's not that. It's knowing the difference between my personality is afraid or my personality has these attributes, but my higher self is not. It's not afraid. It is always without fear. So ideally, when we stop identifying with the personal self, we can see the limitations more accurately. And they are not distorted by our defense mechanisms. And so that's a great place to do some self-examination and self-observation. What is activating my defense mechanisms? Okay. The personality just naturally and normally either denies lack, which is a delusion in one direction, or it over identifies all I am is fear with the limitation. And this is a delusion in the other direction. So we have to silence, get rid of, uh, hug and let go those pieces. So when we stop identifying with the personal self, we can see the limitations more accurately without the distortion that comes from these defense mechanisms. By deliberately and consistently forgetting the personality, we can see the deprivations as they truly are, limitations that belong to our personal nature, and recognize, and that's the last part, recognize them as the source of suffering, of our suffering. And to do this without any clouding of the perception or any coloring of our perception. So as I mentioned, if you look at your diagram or any of the diagrams I showed, this is a little bit out of order. So this part ends the sitting meditation. So what I'm proposing is practice this in sitting meditation, and then you'll see when we go through the acquisitions and the diagrams how to do this more in daily life. Okay, so just a summary of the sitting meditation. First, we conceive of unity, a virtue, or an external truth. And these are abstract ideas that are beyond the lower mind. And we need to conceive, so plant a seed in an imagination first, and we do this by our study. Start with a quote, a teaching, and move towards the highest ideal of what you can think of and try to sense it. All right. Try to inquire. Doing this creates or sets up a space or sets up kind of like the container where we can start delving into the unknown, the metaphysical realities behind things. And I already explained, this is what I feel like I did with Universal Brotherhood. Universal Brotherhood was a metaphysical reality that I could not conceive. So I found a way to work on altruistic acts which naturally lead to Universal Brotherhood. So then the second part is meditate in reference to the states of consciousness. So, what does this concept look like first in the physical world? What does it look like in my emotions and my thoughts? And once this seed is nurtured, is watered, is fertilized in imagination, it can be used as a stepping off point into getting us to the silence and the stillness of the mind. Then this will begin to take hold. This will begin to be our habits of daily life and start to influence our reactions, influence our emotions, influence our thoughts. And then we've brought these concepts or these abstract metaphysical ideas into daily life. Okay, that's that piece. I'll give a moment to see if there's any quick questions.
Again, if you have questions, just unmute yourself or raise your hands. And if nobody has
Okay,
any
I
questions,
I saw there was a comment. Is that anything I need to address?
okay, yeah, let's see. Rosie wanted to say something. Well, this is interesting. Andy put in when you said, I'm looking for a word, I, the consciousness, and she said, I, Atma. And it reminded me of Geoffrey Hudson's meditation that you mentioned, because I do that once a week. And he says, the self in me, the Atma, is one with, the self in all, the Paratma. So that was her comment. And Rosie, go ahead.
Yeah, Michele, just really quick, when in the sitting meditation, if we are focused on, let's say, unity, and we've conceived of it, and then, we're observing it, and we go to the state of silent awareness, are we still sort of holding that unity in sensing it, or are we beyond it at that point?
Right. So first, thank you for that I am the self. I do that meditation too, and I really like that. So now I will go and write it down on a sticky note and put it on my wall and remember it. So thank you for that. And then yes, the third state, Shushupti, is the silent awareness where we've dropped all concepts, all ideas, and it's kind of a natural leap. We can't will ourselves into silence. All we can do is focus on inquiring, on contemplating, on you say unity, and then eventually, if we hold some space where we can give a chance for this silent awareness to come in. Okay? All right. I'm going to go
I
on.
assume she didn't say anything, so I assume that answered her question. Yeah, let's go on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So now in daily life. So this is the next part of the diagram. So, and this in daily life is really important to emphasize. Yoga is a skill in action. Most of humanity are still working on our intentions or on their intentions. So, I intend to do this. Therefore, I'm okay. I intend to do that. I want to get to this. So the thing is here that as occultists, and this is occult work, what we do is we need to make proficient the ability or the skill to bring our intentions, which are no longer intentions, they're skills that we need to bring to our daily life, and so to the physical plane, and so that we can bridge that gap between our personal and our, let's say, our atmic self, which really isn't a self, but our spiritual self. So who we really are, okay? And this this the sitting meditation starts us off there, and working in daily life, basically what we're doing is we're extending our sitting meditation into our daily life, thus creating more time that we are influenced by our higher nature. So the acquisitions in daily life involve bringing back eternal truths and virtues gained in sitting meditation to influence our daily conscious awareness and spiritual understanding, ultimately changing our actions. So that's just kind of a summary of that. And our deprivations in daily life involve letting go of the unknown and comfortable motion of the mind to access the profound silence where eternal truths can emerge from. It is the purposeful stripping away of mental clutter and preoccupations to achieve the emptiness necessary for spiritual receptivity. Okay.
And
So this is the diagram that I gave you, which we see here the first, second, and third acquisition, and below that are the first through the fifth deprivation. So in the next three slides, what I'm going to do is combine the acquisitions and the deprivations together, and we can see what the pairing shows us. So, but first, the first set of acquisition and deprivation, the first acquisition and the first deprivation is about unity, bringing being present with a unitive mindset, and understand that separateness is part of our personal consciousness. And I labeled this section what's working on the mind. It seems to me we are working on aspects of the mind as the source of separation. The second acquisition and the second deprivation are about equanimity. So the acquisition is more of composure, mental calmness, and the deprivation, what we're trying to deprive ourselves of, are distinctions. So are these distinctions bring back and forth motion, and we're trying to still that, and therefore this settles the emotions. And as we settle the emotions, we lose that source of, or as we balance the emotions, we lose that source of suffering. Then the last acquisition and the last three deprivations go together under limitations. And the set is to remind us that limitations belong to the physicality of this plane, that the soul's descent into matter, and that divine spark is trying to work through the body. And so when we realize and can disidentify from the body and more into our higher nature, the body then loses its source of suffering. Okay, I'll give you a second to look that over real quick. Don't bother reading the acquisitions and deprivations. I'm going to give them to you right here. So unity, equanimity, and limitation, body, emotions, or mind, emotions, and body. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
If you go back for a minute, can you say a little bit more about criticism without praise or blame?
I will, but not right now.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. No, no, no. That's okay. That's okay. And then if I don't clarify that enough, then we can talk a little bit more. So the first one that I labeled unity and mind, the acquisition is, or the idea is to bring the mind back to the universality of things. So perpetual presence in imagination in all space and time. The normal state of our consciousness should be molded by a constantly existing awareness across all places and moments. This is the action to rewire our consciousness towards a sense of unity and to deprive our personality from getting caught in the sense of separateness. So if you look at it, and I forgot to say this, this first one to me, this first line in the acquisition and even in the deprivations explains is our action item. The second one explains what's going to happen by doing this action item. And then the third one is kind of the overall result, or who we will be once we've incorporated these into our daily life. So the first one is perpetual presence. The second acquisition is, from this originates a substratum of memory, which does not cease in dreaming or waking. Its manifestation is courage. So this meditation and exercise, when practiced systematically, can produce important changes in our consciousness, changes to the very fabric of our being that has the ability to stay with us. So HPB mentions here that courage is a natural outcome. And I always feel like courage is a super virtue, that when we can access courage, we can acquire all the other virtues a little easier. So then the third piece is, with memory of universality, all dread vanishes during the dangers and trials of life. So this third piece is what our world looks like then. It looks like without dread, okay? And it's important to look at here, it doesn't say that dangers and trials disappear. It says that we are able to handle the dangers, or I feel like it says we're able to handle the dangers. We gain strength to get good at doing the hard stuff. So now I'll go to the deprivation. So where we keep a perpetual presence in imagination, then oh, sorry, let me go here first. The deprivation number 1 says constant refusal to think the reality of. So this is an important piece to me because it's not a refusal to think of, because we have these thoughts, and so it doesn't necessarily stop the thinking process, just like the acquisition doesn't necessarily stop the difficulties in life, but it reorientates ourselves, our thinking, to who we really are. And then these separations and meetings become a part, uh, become become less triggered. We become less triggered by separating and meetings, less triggered by being apart and coming together, and a realization that this is only true on the physical plane. On the inner planes, we're always together. So that missingness will quiet down. So the second one, the association with places, times, and forms, this is just more of a clarification if we want of the separations and meetings. If we want to cultivate the idea of the opposite of I am this body right here, right now, with this person in this time, this is what we're depriving the personality of. So the result will be a decrease in futile longings, expectations, sad memories, and brokenheartedness. So when we exchange, or when we change our perception of who we really are, my soul, my higher self is always connected to the totality. So I'll give you a moment. And unfortunately, my talks are, I use them as stepping off points for you to go back and really take a look at how by acquiring these skills or these attributes helps deprive the body, or deprives the reality of the deprivations. Okay. Acquisition number 2, equanimity and working on the emotions as a source of suffering. So these acquisitions begin, as I said, to bring a balance into the emotional body. So a continued attempt at attitude of mind, which is neither love, hate, nor indifference to all things. What I need you to do now is take what you think about, the strong words that Blavatsky uses here, love and hate. So it's easier if we think about it as likes and dislikes, as that duality. So it is the ability to remain centered and not allow our senses to be pushed and pulled into actions of what's pleasant and what's unpleasant, which is the natural motion of the human body. So indifference here doesn't mean I don't care, okay? It is more of no difference. Choosing the best course of action without distinction, okay? So no differences. I react with equanimity, with a calm sense of knowing that there are no distinctions. So the second one, different in external activity to each, because in each the capacity alters. Mentally, the same to all. So this one, what she's telling us is outwardly things are different, okay? And or outwardly we react to things according to their capacity, but inwardly we're the same. So if I have to find work for a child, an adult, and an animal, and a dog, let's say, I don't give them all the same, which is equality. Okay. I don't give them all the same job. What I do is I give them what their capacity allows them to do. This is equity. This is the beginning for equanimity. So the third part of the second acquisition tells us that equilibrium and constant calm, this is the result, greater ease in practicing the virtues, which are really the outcome of wisdom, for benevolence, sympathy, and justice, all rise from the intuitive identification of the individual with others, although unknown to personality. So even if we don't know other people, let's say, our intuitive identification, once we work on this stuff, once we acquire these ideas, these virtues, then inwardly everything's the same. There's it creates an inner calm. Kindness and compassion and fairness naturally flow from an unconscious recognition of who we really are, or that we all are connected. Okay, we all are in unity. So then we go to the deprivation, and I apologize, I'm giving myself a headache by going through this so fast, but I just didn't feel that we could work on the design your own diagram without going into this first. So the deprivation, the second deprivation, the constant refusal to think the reality of distinctions, friends and foe. And this is the idea: we have no friends, we have no enemies, we only have teachers. So sometimes we think, you are my friend, so I'm going to give you benefits. You are my enemy, so therefore I withhold those benefits. But we all know on the spiritual planes, there are neither. There are only teachers. There are only karmic ties that help to move us into a higher reality. So when we do this, when we make distinctions between friends and foe, it results in when we remove the distinctions of friend and foe, it moves us into an absence of anger and bias. We don't take things so personally. You know, when we understand the teachings of karma and reincarnation, all that drops away. All those anger and biases drop away. We don't take things personally, and we enter into this glorious place of, and that's what it says here, or judgment. And here, this is one of the places that I looked up the definition, because judgment means I'm judging you, okay? And it has a negative connotation. But here we replace this by a fair judgment, the ability to look at a situation and judge what to do here, what to do here, and what to do here without any distinctions. Okay. All right. So this is the last one, limitations. And to remove the limitations, or be aware of the limitations, so we lose the body, or we lose the sensations of the body as the source of suffering. So acquisition 3 tells us these are the aspects that help free the soul from its materialistic or its material prison. So the perception in all embodied beings of limitation only. We think here and now that we can do anything. Anything is accessible to us if we just work harder, or work better, or get favors from somebody. But we have to remember, remember is that all things to do with the personality have limitations. There's only so many resources out there. We can't all have a piece of the pie. So our time here in the physical world, even the best of times, doesn't compare to the life of the soul, because the soul is on the plane of universality where there's infinite resources. So what happens is criticism without praise or blame. Now, I had to look this word up too, because criticism again has a negative connotation. But if you look at the definition of the word, what we're doing is we're making a fair judgment, to use a fair judgment of what is what is useful. I don't want to use the words good or bad. I don't want to use the words pleasant or unpleasant, but we're able to both offer and take criticism without praise or blame. I always think when we give introductions to people that we build up this fluff, and I noticed that in the US, we do a lot more than that. You know, oh, you look nice is not enough. Oh, you look really nice. So we add these adjectives, these adverbs, these qualifiers that increase the praise. Well, the opposite of praise is blame. So if I'm not praising you when I give you criticism, I'm blaming you. So we have to find a place where we can get and give criticism from one another that has nothing to do with how I think of you. You know, that you're not my friend anymore because I criticize you on this. Or and if you watch and you look, you'll see the natural motion of the mind is to take criticism in a negative way. So that's what this works on. And then the deprivation, and combined 3, 4, and 5 here because they all have to do with the body. This is the constant refusal to think the reality of the possessions. Having possessions or owning leads to greed, ambition, and remorse. The personality, identifying with the personality leads to vanity and selfishness. And the sensations, when we pay attention to every sensation, it leads to gluttony and lust because we want to feed. We think this body is owed stuff. And so it can lead to gluttony and lust. Now, probably for the most part, these things we've etched away the rough parts, but still we've kind of spiritualized these things. Our next step is to deprive or disidentify with these things and identify more with the higher self, where these things aren't even part of the nature. So as humanity, we are closer to the animal man than we are to the spiritual man. And the natural instinct for the animal man is survival with a self-serving mindset. These deprivations are a result of manas, or the mind, being influenced by kama manas, the desire nature, rather than by buddhi manas, our spiritual nature. Okay. And I apologize for using the word man. When my brain gets going, that's like the natural tendency. So an animal human versus a spiritual human. Okay. The animal human moves towards it's protecting itself. And the spiritual human is confident that nothing can hurt it, so that it's able to open up and truly be calm, truly feel unity, truly know the limitations of the physical plane, and work past that. Okay, so the general note at the end of it says that all passions and virtues, these are the deprivations and the acquisitions, interblend with each other. Therefore, the diagram gives only general hints. So this is where I see the need for creating our own diagram, bringing it down to what is important to each of us or what we're working on. This concluding statement, though, offers some important qualifications. All deprivations or renunciations and all acquisitions or attainments described are not separate for one another. That's the combination of the 3 slides before. And that they are interconnected and have overlapping elements. Because of this intermingling nature, the diagram can provide only general guidance. It is not a technique to be followed blindly. And I'll stress again, there is I mean, you might, but there is no way that you can look at this diagram that we spend an hour on and understand everything. So I beg you to go back and really spend time with it and fully understand. Look up the words yourself, apply it to reword the statement so that it fits to you. And I can almost guarantee you will get insights into what it means, and then this will make glorious sense. So these points to this points to the necessity for us each to develop our own personalized diagrams, to work on this in our own way. Okay. Then these last two slides in this section, I'm going to just, all I did was take everything that I had before and put it into one slide. So if we stay with perpetual presence and imagination, then our consequence or our gift is the manifestation of courage. Our gift is the manifestation of equilibrium and constant calm. Our gift is to be criticized without our emotions going back and forth. And I did the same with the deprivations. So if we constantly refuse to think the reality of, then this results in the lack of futile longings, expectations, sad memories, brokenheartedness. This we lose, let's say, the anger and the bias. It's replaced by a fair and consistent judgment, equanimity. So, and we also lose greed, selfishness, ambition, vanity, remorse, gluttony, lust, all those in Christianity, those deadly sins. Okay. These are the limitations of the personality. They do not exist in the higher self. Okay, I am sure. Oh dear. Okay, can you hold your question? Let me just get through this last part and then would that be okay,
Well,
Susanna?
I don't know, but we are starting to lose people. So I think it's better if you just answer some questions and I can announce what's next week and then we can stay on. But people have to, a lot of people have to leave after,
Okay,
usually one
yes.
after
So I'm
15 minutes.
sorry, I didn't realize how over time I was. So if I could do this, if I could finish the last 3 slides, that way it'll be on the video
Okay,
and people
good.
can go back and access that. And then
Let's
I'll
go ahead.
take this question, but that way at least it's all there.
Yeah, no, I would not stop the recording, but go ahead, do it
Right.
quickly and
Okay,
then,
go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah, and
go.
I meant to say that if you have to leave, yeah, I totally understand and I apologize. Okay, go ahead.
No, Andy, did you have a question? Just go ahead and finish the slides, and then Andy, unless you have to leave, Andy, do you have a quick question?
I was just wondering about the terms in the beginning, the terms like for the levels of consciousness, if we have a corresponding term, like in terms of physical science, like when scientists talk about things like meditation, they don't talk about like the soul or things like that. They talk about brain waves and neurotransmitters and things like that. So I was just wondering if there is, like, if we have already like a correspondence.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll answer that quickly, and if you want to email me, I'll be able to give you more detailed answers, because this is something that I am looking into. I can't list those things for you off the top of my head, but for example, I do know imagination. Imagination is used in psychology, and it's very well documented, the results of what happens with imagination. So I can look into that for you more if you'd like to email me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can connect the two of you. I will do
Great,
that.
thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Why don't you continue?
Okay. So this is, I just want it up here so you can look at it. So these are the resources that I used, where you can go and look more into everything that I've mentioned. Okay. And then design your own diagram. So I just have three more slides. So the idea is to begin each day with a focused meditation. And this focused meditation, I list here these eternal truths and these virtues. Okay. Then the second piece is to maintain awareness throughout the day. And these are only my suggestions. So I think we have enough practice within ourselves that figure out or come up with a way, how do you maintain the idea of unity throughout your day. Okay. And then the third part is end each day with reflection. And this, I just saw, there was a study in Finland or something like that, that when they had children reflect on their day without distinction, with clear, fair judgment, or let's say spiritual criticism, then they had fewer nightmares, and they woke up with less anxiety because they've cleared that piece away. So come up with a plan to end each day with a reflection. And then these are the summary of designing your own diagram. We first have to have self-knowledge so that we can see what's going on within ourselves and come up with a plan. So then we meditate. We do a sitting meditation on a chosen truth. Okay. And do a meditative inquiry with that also, once we understand the concepts behind it. Then the sitting meditation on the application in daily life. There's this wonderful meditation, and if you want more details, email me and I can get it to you. So the sitting meditation on daily life is, we take that attribute and picture a world only with that attribute. What do the structures look like? What colors are there? What does nature look like? What do people look like? How are they interacting? And just rest in that image for a few moments. Then you do the other opposite. Then you picture a world without that virtue. What does everything look like? What colors are involved? How are people communicating with one another, with nature, with animals? And then rest in that. And then at the end, bring them together. And what does the world look like where they're both theirs? Because we live in a world where those things are there. And then see those limitations and see how those limitations are being offset by that quality being in the world, because it's there, they're all there. So the third one is the acquisition of the virtue or an eternal truth in perpetual presence and imagination. So as we're bringing, as we possess this virtue or this eternal truth in daily life, and then the deprivation or passions of or desire is the idea, I am without. Okay, whatever that is. This that these things belong to the personality, not the real in us. And that's it. All we have to do is start. We'll fail. We start again. And we fail again. And at times we fail gloriously, but our success is in starting again. So I thank you. Okay, that's it.
Well, thank you. That was very, very good. Let me just see. Somebody had to leave, but she wrote, she said, human self to higher self. That was early in your talk when you were talking about the evolution. And then she also said, your briefing is a reflection of your compassion. You're very well received. And then Stephen wrote, nice work, Michelle, informative and thought-provoking. That's exactly right. Informative and thought-provoking. It was very good. Also, because we did in the first hour talk about the emotions based on self-culture by Taini
Oh,
and how difficult it is to deal with the emotions and overcome. And there are these steps, how do you have to purify the astral body? And so this was a very good
oh,
uh,
good.
addition to that. So now Karsten, he lives in Denmark. He was wondering, are you willing to share a PDF file of the slides or not? If you're not, just let us know.
Yeah, let me think about that. And uh, let me see how much information are on the slides. The teacher in me wants to say no, do it yourself. And then you will learn more. But I also know, and I'm great at doing this. I like to take a framework and then work from there, and then I can make it my own. So yes, so let me work on that. Maybe I'll send a handout that might explain things a little more.
That might be helpful. Yes, very good. As always, remember you can raise your hand. I have the participants list open just for those who have to leave. I just wanted to let you know. I hope you can join us next week when Malini is going to talk about illuminating the soul, Theosophy's influence on visual arts. And it will be a beautiful presentation. Anyhow, are there any other questions about this talk? Because it was very, very inspiring, Michelle, and
Oh.
it also shows, uh, how when you struggle with something, how you go about it and how you break it apart to finalize, to figure out the steps. So, how come you decided to work on this?
Um, yeah, we were in a lodge at Alcott when we lived in Wheaton, and bu- I would say by chance I came across the diagram of meditation, and I find that there was some magical connection that I was able to make with it, and then as I started looking it over. I do my best studying when I have to give talks. And so I just started looking at it, and it was one of those beautiful things that as you start looking at each line, there's like a whole class, a whole understanding, a whole learning that can go behind it. So it was kind of like, what do they call that? A one-stop shop. So I didn't have to read all these different books. I could focus on this one thing and then just go off on little tangents. So
Well, I
yes.
really also appreciated the history because I didn't know that much about it, and I appreciate the handwritten
Yeah.
notes that you shared. So, if there's nobody else, Linda said Michelle mentioned at the very beginning that she and Pablo did 4 videos on the diagram of Michelle. Did she hear that right? And are
Yes,
they
you
on
did.
YouTube? And are they on YouTube?
Thank you, Alex. He just put the link for it. Yes.
Alex, you have been the greatest help
I
today
know. Thank
for
you for
me.
being my
Yes,
helper.
absolutely. I really appreciate it. I think
Yes.
he's learning from Stephen Pollack. He does that with all his
Ah,
talks.
very good. Very
Very
good.
good.
Thank you. And it's all, when you go to the Theosophy Wiki, like I said, it's at the bottom there where they have the resources for it.
Very good. Well, if there's nobody else, I want to thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to have you here. Such a pleasure to have you talk and inspiring us to come up with our own meditation and find the virtues we need to work on and the the vices we want to get rid of or the deprivation, as you pointed out. And with
Right.
that, I wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you again next week for Mal's Talk and maybe also for Self Culture. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.